adoption agency from out of state, but they have branches in different states, and they were told in New York State, since we provide same-sex benefits by order of the governor, that they would have to start accommodating in that way and would have to provide adoptions for homosexuals. And so they shut down the office here in New York. So it does impact lots of people. How about legalizing same-sex marriage would help our state financially? Isn't that something? When we will have to start paying more for benefits, and the benefits will be higher because of the higher demand by the homosexual community for more services, that's going to save us money, huh? That's the way politicians think. So anyway, all these, we've got explanations here of why they're wrong. But this is what the homosexuals are saying. They're saying another one, same-sex marriage is inevitable, so New York may as well jump on the bandwagon. No, it's not inevitable. Right now, 30 states have constitutional amendments stating that marriage is between a man and a woman only. That's 30 of our states. It's over half. Another 14 or 15, they're flipping back and forth a little bit, another 14 or so have a defensive marriage law, which defines in statute that marriage is between a man and a woman only. There are only about 5 states that have nothing. And you and I are fortunate enough to live in one of those 5. The Empire State. The leader, they like to say in Albany. We don't have protection for marriage. We have that one court case in 2006. But courts can change their minds. The next case that comes along could flip that decision. So that's not a good protection. They won't pass a defensive marriage bill. I had one introduced about 15 years ago to define marriage in New York between a man and woman only. We would not recognize same-sex marriages or unions, even if they were legal in other jurisdictions. That's the whole bill. Legislators put it in as a favor to me. And they said, don't expect us to take action on it. That's too hot a potato to touch. Now this was 15 years ago. So every year they just put it in, let it collect dust. Next year we put it in again, let it collect dust. They're afraid to even bring it up in committee to vote on it. We've not been able to get a single vote on that bill. They're afraid. And, you know, maybe they're right. Last year, there was a lot of money came into New York State from homosexual resources outside the state. One in particular, a fellow named Tim Gill. He's a millionaire out of Denver, Colorado. Homosexual. He was in the software business, sold his company for millions and millions of dollars, and he now uses his money to promote the homosexual agenda. He first tried to do it on the federal level. He wasn't very successful. He wasn't able to get his candidates elected. So they come up with the idea, well, let's go down a little bit, let's hit them at the state level. And so, I believe it was 4 years ago, he got involved in 57 races at the state level across the country. He won in 50 of them. He caused, I believe it was 2 or 3 state legislatures to flip control. He tried that last year in New York. Because last year, the Senate was controlled by Republicans by only 2 votes. 32 Republicans, 30 Democrats. So they looked at New York and said, we ought to be able to flip 2 votes there. And since the Assembly had already passed the same-sex marriage bill, they felt, if we flip the Senate to Democratic control, we're in. And so Mr. Gill and other people dumped millions of dollars into races last year. Almost all of them were aimed at Republican senators. They picked out 7. We have a PAC, and we don't have anywhere near that kind of money. We talk hundreds of dollars. They talk tens of thousands of dollars. And so, you know, it's David and Goliath type battle there. We went after, to protect those 7 that they went after, we won in 5 of the 7. They only won 2 seats. But those 2 seats was enough to flip control of the state Senate. So then they thought, okay, we got this made now. We got Democrats in control of the Senate. The Assembly is controlled by Democrats. The governor wants this. He's a Democrat. It'll go right on through. Problem is, there's some Democrats that are on our side.
Praise God!
So far, we've been able to hold all the 30 Republicans together. We think they're going to vote as a bloc for traditional marriage. We've got somewhere between 5 and 7 Democrats that are going to vote with us. So that means they don't have the votes at this time. Now, there's tremendous pressure being put on those Democrats, and on some of the Republicans. They're trying to peel off a few Republicans, and they're trying to flip some of the Democrats back. I had some meetings with some of them today. We're keeping the pressure on them as well. They hired one of the most powerful lobbyists in Albany to restructure their lobbying strategy. I happened to bump into her and Senator Tom Duane, who's sponsoring this bill in the Senate today, talking outside in the lobby, planning their strategy. They're putting the money in, they're bringing in the big guns. They're trying to pull over a few more votes to get it. I don't think they will. I think we're pretty safe in saying this year the bill will not come up in the state Senate. The leader of the Senate, Malcolm Smith, has said that he will not bring the bill up unless he knows he's got the votes to pass it. And he said, right now I don't have those votes. And we're working strong and hard to keep him in that position where he won't have the votes. But we need your help. You need to contact your senator, your assembly person immediately, if not before, and let them know where you stand on the position and ask them what their position is. We expect the assembly will take it up tomorrow afternoon. So you got tomorrow morning to call your assembly person and get them on board. The Senate, you got a little bit more time, but don't waste it. Make sure you go after them, because they could just overnight decide to try it in the Senate. The governor wants to have a vote in the Senate whether it passes or fails, because they're looking for a target list for the elections next year. They want to know who to go after, so all these millions of dollars from out of state can come in and target specific legislators. So it will have an impact on our state. We don't need to jump ahead. They are motivated right now because they've had 2 or 3 victories in the last month. You had Iowa. Iowa, that was determined by a court action. But the people in Iowa are it looks like they're going to do a referendum, and there's a good chance it's going to be overturned. So we don't think Iowa is going to stand. It's current, but it won't stay long. Then in Maine, the same type thing. Maine just passed it, but in Maine they've got a nice law I kind of like. It says that after the legislature, no law can take effect until 90 days after the legislative session has ended. And then only if the people of Maine approve of the new laws. So they're going to do a petition drive in Maine, and we think that it will win to say that the marriage bill is not acceptable. And so pray for Maine, that they're able to pull that off. So we think Maine might be able to be flipped, and no marriages will take place there. New Hampshire will be decided any day now. Could be this week, could be next week. The legislature there has passed the same-sex marriage legislation, but the governor has not said whether he will sign it or veto it. So we're waiting to see what he's going to do. There was a survey done last week in New Hampshire. An organization contacted every single household in New Hampshire. Now, how they did it, I don't know. I know the guy that runs the company, and it's all fancy electronic type stuff. It's state of the art. But they had the ability to contact every household in the state of New Hampshire and survey them on that question of same-sex marriage. 64% said they did not want same-sex marriage in New Hampshire. So that's good. I think we'd win in New York too. If they did that survey in New York, it may not be 64%, but it'd certainly be over 50%. If people really understand the issue and the impact it will have upon our future. Same-sex marriage is good for kids. How can that be? We have all kinds of studies out that say the best environment for a child is to live with their biological mother and dad who are married. That's the best for a child. Children that come up in that type of a family have a greater opportunity to get a good education, to get a good job, and to be a contributing member of our society. But children that